you.
Hi. So it sounds like number 2 is way more important than number 1. Do we really need to list all 1,000 beliefs that we have? Or
well, number 2 is often you're more aware of number 2. So usually it's the awareness. It works in reverse many times, where your awareness is firstly that you obviously feel like you've got to do something, and that's an indication generally of an addiction, before you feel why you've got to do it. Does that make sense? But it's a very good process still to go through. And what I've tried to do today is show you the relationship between avoiding the belief and what you do to avoid a belief. Does that make sense? But yes, you're right. Most of the time when we're trying to deconstruct this, we've got to look at what we're doing and then see and feel what we're doing. And once we feel what we're doing, what will be left is the exposure of the feeling that drives what we do. Does that make sense? So yes, you're right. It's a action in reverse, basically. But what I've been trying to do is show you how it was constructed, and now you need to do the opposite of how it was constructed. To deconstruct it.
But it's also helpful if I'm aware of these beliefs from my childhood, then...
Of course. Many of you are aware of childhood beliefs, but you're not aware of the addictions you use to avoid them. You know that? So many of you have no fear of actually talking about your childhood belief. And you know why that is? Because you have no fear that you'll ever get to feel it. Because you have so many addictions covering, you know even talking about it's not going to get you to feel it. You know that, right? And this is so many of you know these quite well because you're not afraid they're ever going to come up, because you've got so many addictions that have been pasted on top of them to keep them down.
So the ones that we're aware of are probably the ones that we have the most addiction covering.
Oftentimes, yes. Yeah. If you're aware of a childhood belief but you're not feeling it, there's a high level of addiction covering it. Yes. High levels of addiction. Because to cover over something you are aware of is harder than covering over something you're not aware of. Does that make sense? So that is very much the case. So I would still look at both of the beliefs and the addictions, certainly. And, that's what myself and Mary are doing. We look at childhood beliefs, that we have not just as a result of our childhood, but all of our life. In the first century life, spirit world life as well, reflected through our parents' emotions. And we also look at what we do to avoid it. And sometimes we even discuss, we choose certain addictions in order to avoid other addictions. And you will notice that too. So in other words, certain addictions feel bad to you. So what you do is you try to avoid engaging that addiction by choosing another. Yeah. And you'll notice all these things the more self-aware you become. So Selena and then Enrique.